In this video, we're just going to talk about some properties. We've talked about these properties in other videos, but we'll talk about these that apply specifically to multiplying and dividing. The identity, remember we said you get the same thing you started with. So if you have A over B, what would you multiply that by to get the same thing? A 1. So 1 is the multiplicative identity. Because of the commutative property, it's also 1 times A over B. We had the additive inverse. We called that the opposite as well. So 2 plus a negative 2 will give me a 0. Negative 2 plus 2 gives me 0. So they basically undo each other. We also have a multiplicative inverse, and this is new. Multiplicative inverse is also called a reciprocal. So we need to undo something. So basically we're going to determine what we would multiply A over B by to get a 1. So that would just be B over A. So they would undo each other. So some people just say, well, just flip the fraction, and that's the multiplicative inverse. So to find the multiplicative inverse of the following ones, you need to keep in mind that there's a trap. You're always going to keep your sign. So the multiplicative inverse of 3/4 is just 4/3. The multiplicative inverse of negative 5/6 is negative 6/5. And a lot of students will forget that negative right there. They will try and do the inverse and the opposite at the same time. So make sure that they always keep the sign. To find the multiplicative inverse of a mixed number, first you have to change it to an improper fraction, negative 13/5, and then you can flip it and get negative 5/13. Notice it does not matter whether you put the negative on the top, the bottom, or in the middle. It's still a negative number. Then we could also do it with fractions. X over y, flip it, and you'll get y over x. So all of those are multiplicative inverses.